Okay, so I'm headed all the way up there, kind of steep going cross country here, but that's one of the waste rock piles. There are a couple others. So let's go check it out. Massive waste rock pile here at the lower tunnel, which is right up here, and then the upper pile is right above it. And it's as equally as massive. And there's an ore hopper right outside the lower tunnel, and I just got to get through this last little bit of cross country hiking. Okay, here's this little ore bin at the top of the tram. You can still see the cables wound around the two big drums there at the bottom of the ore bin. There's more cable on the left than there is on the right. But there were two ore carts. This was a gravity tram, so the weight of the full cart as it went down the slope would pull the empty cart back up here to the top where it would be refilled, and the process would just be reversed. And there should be a portal right back over in here somewhere, and that's looking up at the upper waste rock pile. Okay, so the portal's right back there, but as I was getting my helmet on here and stuff, I noticed right here on the ground square head nails. I don't know if that's coming out in the video or not, but that's a square head nail. So's this one. So I was talking to somebody who knows a lot about this mine, and this was last worked in 1898 according to him. It was never worked since. So these are some really old workings that a lot of people don't get to because it's kind of a hike to get up here. And I still have somewhat of a little bit of a hike to get up there. But we'll go check out this portal now and see what it's all about. And yep, here it is. Yep, I feel some cold air blowing out of here. Not much. Well, let's go check this out. So I got some ore cart track here, just one. Don't know where the other one's at. And there used to be a door with a lock on it, but that's no longer the case. Okay, now the guy that I was talking to that knows a lot about this mine said that it's really extensive, but I don't think that's quite accurate, because I saw a map in an old mining report of this mine, and it wasn't that extensive. Maybe 500 feet of workings, if even that. But the map could have been made a long time ago, and the mine might have been added to after the map was made. So I just looking up into a stope area, and there's the portal. So we'll see, but really, there are a few footprints here, but not many. So a lot of people don't get up here. Like I said, this is kind of hard to get to, and most people won't make the hike. So it looks like a T intersection here, with a shaft going down, and then that way keeps going. So this right here doesn't look to be anything. That's just a dead end over there. I don't know if that was a shaft at one point or not. If it is, it's all filled in, but it looks like there's a collar down there, a wooden collar, so maybe that did go somewhere at one point, but not anymore. But you can see here the different strata of rock. Right where my light is, that's kind of like the line of demarcation between that upper gray, darker gray layer, and then the lower, almost looks like dirt right there. So we have to go this way. And he also told me, the guy that knows a lot about this mine and who's been in here a couple times, said there's some dynamite in here in one of these tunnels. So I think a stick of dynamite, so we'll have to watch out for that. So you can see where the ore cart tracks used to be, the indentations of the cross ties that the rails were nailed to. So there were tracks in here at one point. Someone's done some surveying in here, but don't know how recently that was. But yeah, he said it's not, the guy said it's not been worked since 1898 when it closed. So feeling some airflow, so I don't know, there might be a connection to the upper tunnel in this lower tunnel. I'm definitely getting some airflow. Those look like maybe cross ties. See the notches for the rails? I'm not sure. If that's the case, those were some really wide work cart tracks. They're usually a lot, not quite as wide as that. Now this is probably a dead end. That keeps going that way. I don't think this turns to the left. You never know until you actually check it out. Sometimes these blind corners look like a dead end, but then there's a tunnel. But not in this case. So yeah, these are the cross ties for the work cart tracks. You can see them still in place here. They just use tree trunks instead of wooden, pieces of wood like that. They just use tree trunks. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen that before in an abandoned mine where they use tree trunks for the cross ties. They're usually finished pieces of lumber like that. So that's pretty interesting. Just shows you how old this mine really is. Here's more of them. They just put notches in tree trunks. That's pretty amazing. Like I said, I don't think I've ever seen that before in all the mines I've been in. Okay, there's something up here. It looks like a head frame. An inclined head frame. Interesting. Oh yeah, that goes way down. So the tunnel does continue that way, but we're here at this head frame. And that goes down there about a 45-degree angle, and then it looks like further down there it drops off and gets maybe a little more vertical. Let me zoom into that spot. Yeah, right there's where it looks like it drops off. But there's definitely some lower areas in this mine. I wasn't aware of that. I thought this lowest tunnel was going to be it. There wouldn't be anything lower than this on the mountain. But so I found this kind of interesting right here above the head frame. I know this wasn't intentional, but it almost looks like a crucifix. I don't think that was intentional. I don't think anybody died in here, but that's kind of eerie. Don't know why that's there, but it's right above the shaft. It goes down that way. So here's the incline shaft, and check this out. Look at the top. Up there is the hoist, what they call, I guess, the sheave wheel. And that's what the cable would have ran on. And it looks like there's a stope up behind it. I can see there's a void up there. But that's what the cable ran on to pull the carts up from down there. And just think, that's been here. That wheel has been here since the late 1890s. You can see some of the grease there on the timber. They had to keep it greased up probably. That's pretty amazing. And I noticed right here on the head frame itself, a couple of explorers were in here. They put their initials DC and BW, December 14th, 1966, it looks like. So, and we should probably continue down the tunnel that way. And here's looking up at that sheave wheel from underneath it, directly underneath it. It's right there. And you know, there's a definite void up in there. So that's interesting. But we'll continue down the main tunnel. Wow, here's a big room. Wow. There's something going up there. There's a couple here, a couple winches over here, and this might have been a vertical shaft, maybe. I don't know. They dug a hole here, and there's a pipe. I don't know what's going on here. I don't want to step on a false floor, that's for sure. But there's all kind of drums and winches. There's a winch over there, and then wooden foundation there, and another one over there. And then that just goes up. Looks like that kind of goes up a little bit higher. And then, oh, okay, this right here, this is looking down into the incline shaft, I believe. Yeah, we were just looking down that incline shaft from the other side. Like a little access point here. Wow. 1890s equipment. Still looks good. I just don't know why this is in here, because the hoist is back where we saw it with that sheave wheel. But anyway, there's that. And let's go over here and check this out. That's pretty big. And we just came from that way. So check out that retaining wall. That's just tree branches and tree trunks holding back all that waste rock. Look at that. That goes all the way over to here. Right over to here. Just think, those have been there since probably the 1895 or so. That's over 100 years. Looks like later on they added in these square timbers, maybe. Well, maybe not, because here's a tree trunk holding up the square timbers. So this was probably all done at the same time, just to give it more support. Those just go up to there. And we came from that way. That's the incline shaft right there. So pretty impressive. So let's keep going down the main tunnel. Looks like here's another drop off into a lower stoped area. Oh, looks like a dead end down there. Oh, we got ore cart tracks and an ore chute, finally. So here's this ore chute, totally unclogged. And I can feel air blowing down here, so that leads up into some upper areas and probably connects with the upper tunnel. But, and here's the ore cart tracks. Now you notice these ore cart tracks are not regular rails. They are wooden boards with metal strapping attached to the top. That was a cheaper way of doing it, rather than buying actual ore cart tracks, which were much more expensive. So that's how they did it in this mine, or at least in this section. Tracks kind of curve here, left and right. And then they curve again to the left and then to the right again. That's just looked like they started building an incline shaft, but they stopped. And then this over here, well, that keeps going, but that's off the main tunnel. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go back to the main tunnel and take it all the way to the end, and I'll come back and take that branching tunnel. And here's another ore chute. And that one they blocked off with some tree trunks. Okay, continuing down the main tunnel here. That's a way to get to the upper levels through there. Not sure what's down there. And the tracks continue this way. And that's just some backfill. I'm going to keep going down the tracks. Yeah, notice how they use the, like I said, the tree trunks for the cross ties, and just carve notches in them for the wooden boards with the metal strapping on top of them for the tracks. And this might be the end. I don't know, maybe not. I think it is. Some nice color here. Red, kind of purple-like, and some dark gray. And that is the end. So let's go back and take that branching tunnel. So we're headed back that way, but I was going to take this branching tunnel here. This was the only branching tunnel we saw as we made our way in here. So let's see where this goes. There's that, what looked like was going to be an incline shaft, but they stopped. So let's see where this branch goes. Got some metal up here on the floor. Some nice rocks through here in the walls. Different strata, different colors. And this might just be the end of this drift. So yeah, they stopped right here with two support timbers, but check out the overhead there, what they call the back. And the back of the mine is the roof, the ceiling. Look at that. That's a fault line. It goes all the way up into there. It's got some nice colors in it, kind of a brown. Right above me, a little bit of rust color. And some white right there, some more orange and brown. And we just came from that branching tunnel, which ends right here in this chamber, this little mini stope. There's more of that. Interesting. And there's some veins of ore there, and that right over there in that wall coming down there. Well, we'll take this branching tunnel back out to the main haulage tunnel and go check out that incline shaft and see if I'm brave enough to go down that, considering that I'm in here by myself. And here's the main tunnel, and we have to make a left-hand turn here to get back towards the exit and the incline shaft. So the question is, do I want to go down this incline shaft? This is looking down the ladder. Right here at the top, there's a broken rung. And you may be wondering why they put the rungs on the underside of the ladder. Well, this really isn't a ladder. It's actually the tracks for the ore cart. See the little rails here, the straps of metal on both sides? That's what the little skip car would ride up on. So, and that's what this hoist right above me here would have been pulling up. The little cart, there would have been a cable, and so the ladder for the miners to use, the rungs had to be placed underneath because otherwise they'd be in the way of the cart. So that's why those are like that. And the cart would come up here, and see how the rails come up here, the metal straps? That happens on both sides, and there's a notch right here at the top that the cart would go into, and somehow that was part of the dumping mechanism. The cart would tip out into an ore cart waiting right here on the tracks. The rocks would fall in, and then the cart would be taken out the mine that way to be processed. So that's how that whole system worked. worked, and you can see the ends of the metal straps right there at the top of the head frame. Looks like there might be a drift level right down there, about 20 feet. So I'm on the ladder here on the incline shaft looking down, and right here to my left is this lever with a wire attached to it that runs all the way down there. I think this was the bell device. They would use this to signal the bell, to ring the bell, and all mines had a code of bell signals. Like one bell would mean the car was coming up, two bells the car was coming down the shaft. You know, they had a whole system worked out, but I believe that's what that was for, I guess. So let's keep going down here and see where this goes. That's looking up into the room we were in earlier that's right over this incline shaft. So I'm continuing down here. I'm kind of sliding down on the rails and using my feet on the ladder rungs that are in between. It seems to be working, kind of. And I think right down here is the first drift level off the incline shaft. So let me get down here a little bit further and I'll turn the camera back on. So I'm at the first drift level here. There's nothing off to the right. It's just a dead end, but it looks like there's some workings over here. And there's a ladder and some stope action back there. So I'm going to step off here, off the ladder. I'm going to get off on this platform and check out the first drift level. Okay, so this is a different shaft, incline shaft, and that's got a ladder, a series of ladders that go down. Wow. Part of a miner's old broom. Okay, so making my way down this little ladder system, 2 ladders. This second ladder is really secure. It must be somehow attached to these cross timbers, but you know, I see down there animal droppings, not big ones. So, okay, believe it or not, there's tracks here coming down at an incline. They're covered up here by a bunch of rubble, but that did go further, a lot further. I can see back there. It keeps going way down. It looks pretty big back there. But I'm almost tempted to climb up this ladder system to get back up out of here, because I think we were looking down these ladders from the, I believe it was the 3rd level. So I'm continuing down the incline shaft from the 3rd level. Yeah, this is kind of a long stretch. And it veers off there to the left, so I'm not sure where we're headed.